MECC. This is my first time speaking to this school. I'm from Home Branch. I'm just amazed that you all are able to see something of this magnitude in Clarendon County. I'm a NASA engineer. I've been working with NASA for about 17 years, testing rocket engines. And so the Moon Tree program, while I didn't work with the Moon Tree program, I actually helped work on two components of the rocket that actually the Moon Tree seeds rode on. The rocket is called Artemis 1, and each of the teachers, I believe, got goodie bags, and they'll have little activities you all can do about Artemis. And in that, two things I worked on with Artemis, and I would never, when I was y'all age, I think it was Andrew Prasadi, I would never imagine working for NASA. Never think I would meet anybody your age working for NASA. I think when I was your age, the only recollection I had of NASA would have been in the 80s, early 80s, Challenger. Now, probably around Challenger. The Challenger explosion, but I never knew Dr. McNair, but life was full circle. Where I work in southern Mississippi, we test something called the RS-25 engine, which was formerly called the Space Shuttle Main Engine. And I worked on the test stand where we actually test that engine. But when I was your age, I would never imagine that a kid from Home Branch or Paxville who was doing activities like this, and I don't know if any of the parents remember somebody named Miss Millette. Miss Millette was my kindergarten teacher, and she made all her students made these little simple fruit out of paper bags. And the reason I'm bringing this up, you never know, as educators, you never know the impact that you may have on students. And Principal Stokes, I'm gonna give you all why your job is important, but I'm gonna come back to the kids. One educator I had in particular, Dr. Rosehill Wilder, she was our principal in the primary school when I was in school. We were her first class. I graduated from Manor High School in the class 2000. And for her, to see her grow over time is almost equivalent to seeing how you all can grow and also how you all can grow in life. And then imagine, you may not get this, but 20 or 30 years from now, you may come back outside and see the moon tree that y'all planted about a week or two ago, and it'd be a big moon tree, and you all been big adults, like your teachers, and some of your teachers your former teachers who are retired. Miss Marlowe, I think her grandson was the astronaut. I think he had a few technical difficulties, but I think he had a good mission. At least he came back to Earth, so I really appreciate that. So I want to just kind of tell you all one of the things about NASA. We always believe in the philosophy of think big and dream big. Sometimes when we're working on projects, we don't know what the project is going to look like or how long it takes for the project to get from birth to actually be able to see the project. We see things on a micro level where I'm working with thousands of people across the country. So when I was working on Artemis with testing the rocket engine, one of the first projects, if it launched in 2022, I think I first worked on the test stand. I started in 2009. I worked in 2011 on the RS-25 test stand where we test that particular engine to control the payload, power, determine the horsepower. So one of those engines, just so y'all know the magnitude of those engines, I think most of y'all probably around 30 or 40 pounds each. But those engines, the RS-25 have a payload of 425,000 pounds. That's each engine. So if you have four of those, that's like 1.6 million pounds of thrust. The next engine that I worked on was something called the solid rocket booster. And the solid rocket booster is cool because on the side of the rocket there's two white cylinders. It's almost like a firecracker. But we actually tested that engine in Utah, and I worked on a camera system to help record that particular test. So I want to ask one of the young people a question and see if they can answer this question. Have anybody ever been into a room at nighttime And did their eyes adjust to them seeing what's in the room? Yeah? Why you think that's the case? I know you don't know, but with the eye has an ability called high dynamic range, so you can see different light levels. And with seeing the different light exposure levels, we were trying to mimic, we were designing a camera that mimics the human eye. When you design things in life, sometimes the greatest piece of engineering is life itself in the human body. This Moon Trees project and the garden that Ms. Land is doing at MECC is critical. I mean, I would honestly say I would not have been a rocket scientist for NASA without the things I learned on the farm. Because you learn the real life math and science. And I think I want to just kind of end this by answering Andrew Rasani's question. I'm glad you came because I would like to become an NASA engineer when I grow up. When I was your age, Andrew, I didn't know what an engineer was. I thought my only interpretation, my only connection to an engineer, I thought it was somebody who drive the railroad, a rail car. I didn't know what an engineer was until my junior year of high school. But what I will say is why I became an engineer, because I always loved math and science. I mean, at this stage, you learn your ABCs, your numbers, anything in life, you have to be able to read. And so you're getting the building blocks of how to read. Or if you play with Legos, or how to build things up. Like my son liked to build towers. When you stack the rocket engines, they're actually like towers. Another thing I would say, Andrew, and the rest of you all, if you want to become an engineer, you have to work hard. You also have to listen, have good listening ears for your parents, your teachers, adults, people around you people who have experiences that you never may come across. So I think I don't know how many times people in Clarendon County come across your age or my peers or come across people who actually work for NASA coming out of this community. And I'm saying this community, Clarendon County. I don't think there's a whole lot of us who come out of this community and work for NASA. Not to say we don't have the ability. We have the ability, but we have to have the work ethic. We have to have the drive and motivation to go along with it. I believe fundamentally, Clarendon County has some of the best genetics in the country. It's really an untapped secret. When I think about my parents, who I give a lot of my credit to academically and what I know for is culturally and barbecue, they oftentimes had the ability, they just didn't have the opportunity. And so when I see you all sitting down on the floor with people who may look like you, may not look like you, male, female, boy, girl, different nationalities, different backgrounds, it's just the testament, and it applies in real life. When I get ready to go test rocket engines or working with people, I work with people all over the country and sometimes all over the world. And with that, you have to be open-minded and be willing to know who people are and where they are. And what I would say in closing, just say with this, come back. Don't realize, you may not take this day, you may not remember this day at all. But I hope you remember people like Miss Land. I think it was Cato, right? I know about another name, Jessica Lassane. When I was in like middle school, I think she was in 8th grade. No, I can't remember. It was a gifted and talented program or something. She was a great theater person on stage, and I played a dog or something in one of the plays or something for her. I hope you all remember Miss Land and the work and the time, the effort, the resources that she put into you. But I also want you to remember their teachers. None of what I have accomplished in life have not come without having great teachers, and at all levels. Some I remember more than others, but this is fundamentally where it starts at. I hope you all enjoy the goodies in the goodie bag that NASA sent you all. Thank you all. Thank you to, I think the outdoor rec program for bagging all of those packages up. Thank you, Andrew Casani, for writing this letter. Wait, Andrew, where you at? I want to give you something too. I'm gonna give you something, a project I work on. So, what I'm giving Andrew, when I worked on testing the solid rocket booster, which would be basically these little blue, I'm gonna say blue cylinders on the side of the rocket. We were testing something called a QM2. And when you test the rocket engine in the middle of the desert across sand, sand can be made into glass. Because the high heat from the rocket engine melts the glass. So what you get right there is the outer surface is like the molten sand, and the other surface is just the ground itself. From the earth, from testing the rocket engine, it could go to the moon. So you have to do ground testing before you even go to the moon. And so I give you that because that's, I worked on that project. I wouldn't keep it. But since you wrote such a beautiful letter, I thought you should keep it because it may inspire you to become a NASA scientist. You would take my job. You can have my job. So I want you to have that. There's not many of those coming around, but it's really unique to see that capability. So thanks, Andrew, for your note.
He wants his autograph.
Yes, I see.
I'm a David too, so.